Hi everyone, welcome to Primestar Media. I'm your host Clay. We're going to be going over a few tips and tricks that'll help you out in the early game of Satisfactory. If you find what you see today helpful, go ahead and drop a like down below so that we at the channel can make more Satisfactory content. And with all that being said, let's get right into the video. Alright guys, tip number 1. Get automated. Now I know when you're first starting off the game in Satisfactory, the first thing you're going to want to do is go straight up to a crafting bench. I would actually recommend not doing this just because it's a lot faster to go ahead and start building the machines. That way you're able to process the items. And honestly, I wouldn't even recommend going up very high in the tiers early game. I would start focusing mostly on your factory and what all you're going to get automated. So I would start off with limestone. That way you have a bunch of foundations you can put down. And then I would also focus on getting a couple iron mines put in and then one copper mine. That way you can have all the resources, plus you're not really going to need a ton of copper early game. You're just going to need the wiring and then the cables. And doing all this will save you a ton of time, and it will let you focus on more things like setting up your base and getting your MAM research completed. Also, another quick little thing is make everything centralized. That way you don't have to really run across the map getting stuff. Just make all the conveyor belts running back to your hub. That way when you do decide you want to go up in tiers, you can just grab the resources and then just throw them in. As tip number 2, building on platforms. Now I see a lot of first time players out there going out and building just like on the ground, and that's all fine if you're trying to build like conveyor belts across a long distance. But when you start getting near your hub, guys, you need to start building on the foundations because it's going to let you be a lot more organized, and also it's going to allow you to start making your base a lot more compact. Not to mention, guys, when you start wanting to build your actual base, and you're going to have to go back and clean up all the stuff that you already have laid down. So if there's conveyor belts or assemblers, you'll need to go ahead and start disassembling things. So it's just unnecessary. You're just going to be wasting a lot of time. It said, if you guys are trying to keep your conveyor belts organized, all you're going to have to do is look at the base down here of the conveyor belt and just count forward or backward by 2. And it should line up perfectly every time. The only time it's not going to line up is if you're on the very edge of the foundation. And I mean, at that point you can count back by 3 and then you just see where it lines up from there. Alright, tip number 3. So resource nodes that you're not currently using in the game. Go ahead and start funneling the resource, whatever it might be, so iron or limestone. And I would funnel it into a storage box for later. I mean, as long as you have like the items, so like say limestone for example would be really easy. I would make the limestone into concrete and then go ahead and funnel that into a storage box because you can always come back to it later and you would have a ton of foundation at that point. On a side note, you guys could actually start funneling resources into the Awesome Sink if you haven't unlocked. That way you can start getting your tickets early, and that way you can start purchasing items from the Awesome Shop. If you've never been in the Awesome Shop, there's a lot of cool things like alternate walls, foundations, vehicles, and like statues. I would start collecting Awesome tickets like as soon as you can, just because like some of these are like 8 tickets, and it takes a while for you to actually get the tickets from the Awesome Sink unless you have like a lot of them set up. Tip number 4, collecting power slugs. So honestly, during your first playthrough of the game, you're not really going to know what these guys do. You're able to research them in your MAM, and you get power shards out of it. And the power shards are able to start like overclocking some of your machinery, but we'll go over that in a minute. So one of the cool things they added to the game was the object scanner. So you're actually able to set the object scanner to power slugs. And from there, if you're looking in the general direction of a power slug, it will kind of identify it with a noise, so it'll start beeping, and then it will also have that bar at the bottom of your screen. Also, there's different variants of the power slugs. So there's a green, yellow, and purple power slug, and they all give you different amounts of power shards. So the green one gives you 1, the yellow will give you 2, and then the purple will give you 5. So when it comes to overclocking with power shards, you can actually set the clock speed down here, which will actually change the target production rate. So if you set it to whatever number, it's going to change the amount that you receive per minute, and vice versa. So you can type in whatever number you would like for the amount per minute, and it will also change the clock speed accordingly. So the thing that actually makes power shards really broken is just the fact that you're able to increase the clock speed up to 250%, effectively allowing you to produce more items faster. And the only downside to using power shards in the game is the fact that your voltage will go up when using power shards. Now you can check the voltage capacity on any generator or power pole in the game that is hooked up to the same circuit, so you just don't want to go over the capacity of that generator. Okay, for our final tip, we have plan ahead, and if you've already found a place in the map that you want to set up your base, that's fine. I personally like the aesthetic of the desert, not to mention just the fact that it's super open. But if, say, you chose like one of the other starting places, you can actually travel over to all the starting locations. It's all the same map. But I would just find something you're aesthetically pleased with, and also if it has a ton of resource nodes, that's a plus. And if you're not really wanting to make a bunch of conveyor belts coming to your mega base, I would honestly just build over a ton of nodes, so that way you can funnel in all the resources underneath. So my biggest tip for planning ahead is put down your production line first on platforms, or on the foundations, and then cover it up with walls at the very end, because if you put down the walls first, you're going to be trapped in this enclosed box, and say your production line needs to expand, you won't be able to unless you want to restart that portion of the base. Thank you guys for watching. Tell me down in the comment section below if you found any of the tips today useful, and if you did, go ahead and drop a like. If you want to see more Satisfactory content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and with that being said, I hope all of you have an awesome day. Peace.